I'm no good at this, this conversation as it begins, but what this is going to entail is what I would like to do is talk about things that impact Dayton, the things that you're going to read in the Dayton Daily News or see on WHIO TV or in the wider world that may or may not impact Dayton, and we will talk about them from what our perspective is on those particular issues. And our perspective might include other pieces of information that you don't always get with inside the Dayton Daily News or these large news organizations, because they have advertisers that kind of influence the way things are presented. So David and I are going to sit here because we live so close to each other and we are passionate about the same things that deal with Dayton. But we come from different ideas and different ways to talk about things. So my idea was to come here kind of on a daily basis, kind of whatever was in the mood or in the news, talk about those things, and to see if there's some interest in Dayton. Instead of David's a very good poster, he writes about a lot of good things, I would rather do kind of a video of what may be, driving me crazy on a day-to-day basis. David will be here, maybe he'll talk about what's driving him on a day-to-day basis, or we'll talk about other things like entertainment that's coming up, or ways to manage, what are the interesting subcultural things to do, i.e. Some of the black market activities that go on in Dayton that most people don't hear about.
I know nothing about them.
Well, David doesn't know anything about them, but I happen to. So whether, who's working on, electronic gadgets that may be against the law, or some of those things that are going on in Dayton that people aren't aware of. So we'll talk about some of those things without implying or looking at that. We also look at public records, and we may, talk about, I don't know, things are getting foreclosure, or who might be in foreclosure, or some of those kinds of things. So all the interesting things that I think more of a gossip thing, or something that may impact your life. David and I care passionately about Dayton. We love Dayton for what it could be, at least that's my slogan, and not for what it is. And we'd like to expose some of the things that go on, and we would like to work towards making a better Dayton. So that's what this particular, David doesn't believe me. See, I love that look. He gives you that blink like, you're an idiot. But that's okay. We argue back and forth, and that's what we do. So that's what we're going to talk about.
We just spent a long time talking about what we're going to talk about instead of getting down to the meat of it and what we are going to talk about.
What are we going to talk about today?
So, first off, he's Greg Hunter. I'm David Esrati. He sort of missed that part. So, what we're going to talk about today is what I posted last night, which was the revelation that Ryan McGlynn signed off single-handedly on Rashad Young's retroactive pay increase. Now, I'm sorry, we have a city manager form of government, and the only person that the city commission actually hires and sets salary on and does all those things, well, for the most part, is the city manager. There's some boards and some various other appointments and the clerk of the city commission that they also do this for. But what happened was Rashad, as his parting gift, gave all the mid-level managers and upper-level managers, including quite a few who make over $100,000 a year, a raise retroactively, single-handedly, without any sign-off. Now, he's allowed to do that for everybody except himself. So for him to give himself a raise, he was supposed to have a vote of 3 commissioners. That's the way the thing works. But we have contacted Tom Biedenharn at the city, and he comes up with a document that only Ryan signed and no record whatsoever of the other commissioners agreeing to it. That's a fundamental problem.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask my fundamental question. Do you think anybody that's managing any of the functions of Dayton deserves $100,000 in any way, shape, or form?
Well,
are they managing something to deserve $100,000?
The city of Dayton is a large organization and spends.
Is it a well-run organization?
Well, hold on. I mean, you have people in charge of 1,500 to 2,000 employees. $500 million in money goes through there a year, and you would expect somebody to be at the top of that getting paid decent money. In our city, it's not the mayor, it's the city manager. That's the form of government we have. The scary part is at one point, the head of the Dayton development, the Downtown Dayton Partnership was making $200,000 a year off of tax revenues raised from property owners downtown, and had a staff of like 11 and no responsibility. And now we have Jim Leftwich over at the Dayton Development Coalition making over $300,000 a year. And, his area of responsibility quote is 12 counties, but his staff is like 20 people, and his budget's considerably smaller. And, who's running the show here?
What do we get for all that money? I'm not sure we're getting anything for that money, are we?
I'm not so sure that we wouldn't do better to give $300,000 to the city manager of the city of Dayton and give Mr. Leftwich $150,000 and actually tie some things in to, you got to actually do something for the money, because holding a big rally and having all your friends come doesn't quite get it. So, back to the simple thing of Ryan McGlynn signing off single-handedly. I got to wonder, what kind of government do we have here?
Well, what was the quid pro quo with that, do you think? Was there some scratching of the back with that somehow?
Well, I do know that Rashad used to take Ryan to lunch quite a bit, and he's a lousy tipper, but that's insider information.
Oh, he was a lousy tipper?
That's what I hear from my friends, my working class friends who actually served them. But
a friend of mine's out in Greensboro. I'll have to, pass that information along. We'll see how this viral marketing will go against Mr. Rashad Young and his cheap tipping.
Yeah, well, that's beside the point. The fact is I find it highly inappropriate at all that the employee was taking the manager out to lunch on his own dime. So the funny thing is once you put these things out in public and you put them up there and have them where people can read them and get to them, which is something the Dayton Daily News doesn't do a very good job of, then we start having people chime in with additional information. And it seems we've got a secret mole inside city government who thinks that civil servants are people too, and that they're all above reproach and they're all doing a damn fine job, and there's no friends and family plan in City Hall, which we all know is absolutely false. It's who you know, not what you know. But they posted some arcane connections to things saying, oh, yeah, sure, this is the way it's not only okay, but it's always been done that way. And I think that's, what you're getting down to is a basic violation of trust of how the people in the city of Dayton should be getting their government delivered. We believe we have a system with checks and balances, when in fact it turns out we don't.
Well, there's plenty of checks.
Does that make us the balance?
Well, with the balance, we're not getting the checks, I can tell you that much.
So is that our discussion
I
for
think
tonight?
we're public servants, since we're the ones doing this work and getting not paid for it. So that's public service. So
I think that's called public slavery.
Okay.
But
we'll try to do this on a daily basis, whether you find it entertaining or not. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
tell your friends.